This is part 20 in my series on gang stalking and electronic harassment here in the Bay Area, Northern California. They've been fucking with me with the voice to skull a lot lately. And by lately, I mean, the last couple days, they've been pretty much leaving me alone, just voice to skull. Light voice to skull, like, all the time, but now it's, like, increasing more, asking more questions, trying to get me more into the conversation, feeling more and more disconnected from reality because of it. And it's reminding me of the first stages again. It's pissed me off. Maybe they didn't like the rap video. I don't know. There's a new CIA chief I heard today, General Petraeus. There was a big joke about him a while ago. I remember Betrayus, and they made a big deal out of it. They didn't like that he was called Betrayus because he wanted more troops for the war, or whatever bullshit it was at the time that he wanted. And there was a big outrage or something. Why are we? You can't say that he's betraying us. It's not betraying us to send more troops to die in an illegal war for taking our liberty, when they said that the war is to stop the people who's attacked us for our liberty, when really it was an inside job. Anyway, the point is, he's a scumbag, piece of shit, murderer, doesn't deserve any job in the world at all. He shouldn't be allowed to fucking clean toilets. Shouldn't be trusted around anybody. Should be locked up. Total piece of shit. Like, I can't even believe these people are allowed to walk the face of the earth. But yeah, so he's the new leader of the CIA. The guys in my head right now are very upset about this, which makes it's such a funny place I'm in. Where yeah, they might do something to me because with gang stalking wise, yeah, they're fucking with my head right now. But I can feel it, and it surprises them that I can feel it. They'll do something to your head, and they're looking at like a map of your brain, and on like a brain imaging software or technology from a remote location. The government's got it. Anything that's public is 30 years old. They're threatening that I'm leaving my body. So yeah, this is everything I've been talking about, minding. They're trying to mind people. They're trying to make people basically take them out of their body. And I don't know what they're going to do with a person after that. I don't know what they're going to do with the person after that, if that really is the goal, or if it's just mostly fear and it comes back after a while. It seems like it should come back after a while. I don't know. What was I saying though earlier? I don't know. I'll check. Hold on. They're upset. They don't want me to say that. They're like, why are you saying that about the head of our CIA? Because they're probably CIA psychiatrists. And they don't want me to say that. They're like, you shouldn't be saying that. Stop saying that. In my head right now, they're like, don't say that about our leader. This all started had a lot to do with that Fremont hospital I've talked about, and there was a CIA lawyer and doctor in there, and he was allowed to abuse all the rules of the hospital, and they didn't do anything to him. Meanwhile, for me, they'd hold you down and inject you with have 5 people hold you down and inject you with Haldol for giving somebody a dirty look, because they, for a good reason, and then lie about it, but the thing is, the CIA, it's a funny position, because I can say this stuff about the CIA, and then you can't really say, oh, he's saying you can't really use your classic this is to the scumbags listening, the propagandists, the COINTELPRO, whatever, your usual tactic. I'm sure you have a tactic for it, but your usual tactic of, what he's saying is, it could sway people's minds because he's like, or whatever, and fucking. But the thing is, I've got voices in my head telling me this shit. They're real, but no, what do people associate voices with in people's heads? Insanity, which is of course the goal, to discredit people. So that's the thing. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna say, oh, these crazy people, we have to lock up the crazy people because they possibly could be, and what do they say about somebody who speaks the truth about the CIA? They say that they're an extremist or a radical or some shit, right? Meanwhile, they're the ones agent provocateuring all this shit, staging the shit. They want you to be violent. They'd love it if I just take out all my anger on my local fucking retard police department. But I would never do something stupid. And that's for all you TIs out there. Don't fucking do something stupid. I've heard of it happening to other TIs. They want you to fucking just go crazy and just start murdering people, which is basically the proper response to this. Sorry to say it, but I mean, like, unless human instinct is completely wrong, all my instinct is telling me, find these people, hunt them down, and just completely wipe out their existence. Because they've tortured me every single day pretty much for a year and a half, and that was after a year of torture from drugs and from just 1 month of being on them in a hospital. where I was watching all these other kids who'd been tortured literally, and I'm not talking about drug torture or theoretical, or and not the gang stalking is not something that is for not other TIs listening, for anybody who doesn't believe in this or whatever, who's just the retards, you fucking idiots. I'm talking about kids. I'm talking about kids in there who were classic like monarch slaves, like had their split personality disorder, and that's what all this is about too. And that's what I'm researching a lot right now. Hypnosis has been used since the 20s to create multiple personality disorder. I was able to, and this is a girl. They had girls in Fremont Mental Hospital who were saying, like I would be talking about the Illuminati, and she'd be like, her ears would perk up, come over to me. And then she'd be like, I know what you're talking about. And I'd be like, really? And then I'd be like, how do you know? And then she'd be like, oh, because I'm fucking like that girl in Eyes Wide Shut. Remember in the mask store? Remember if you've seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut, there's a sex slave that works in a mask store for the guy who runs the mask store, where all the fucking politicians come to get their masks to go have the orgy at the fucking castle. And so yeah, and then of course the fucking CIA agent comes in, and he's using NLP triggering anchors of alter personalities in the kids there, and like inappropriately touching the people in ways that like no other person was getting away with in there. Like it was so obvious. And keep in mind, this is a person who admitted to me later, while I suspected he was in the CIA. Like that was the first thing that popped in my mind after talking to him for 10 minutes. This guy seems like he's in the fucking government. And CIA was the first thing that popped in my mind. Is like the classic stereotype of like evil government agent gangster type. And then like after a while, he's like, yeah, let me tell you something. I'm in the CIA. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I think you guys killed Bob Marley. And he's like, yeah, we did. Drugged him up pretty good. Got him drunk. And he talked about, and he's so evil what goes on in mental hospitals. It's the most horrible. It's like, to me, until I found out about gang stalking, I don't know which is worse. It's got to be psychiatry, because psychiatry is probably behind gang stalking to a large extent. Because think about what's happening to all these TIs that don't realize what's really going on. They think that they're crazy, or that somebody else labels them crazy. They get put in a mental hospital. Imagine people who are already in mental hospitals who get put in a mental hospital, and they start gang stalking them while they're in the mental hospital, keep them in there. Simulated mental illness. That's what all this is. And then the really sick part is the people doing it a lot of time are military people. And what's happening to military right now? More than ever before in history, the military is getting put on psychiatric drugs that cause personality disorders, by the way, because of personality disorders caused by the fucking war. And there's more suicide in the military right now than there's ever been before. It's going up every single year. And then they use them in their completely traumatized state, PTSD, mind control, yes sir mentality, to create the same thing in others. And since they've had, and it's basic psychology, that since it's already happened to them, then it gives them more reason at some level that they want to put it back out onto us. And they just take all the trauma, everything that they're told to hate. Oh, the Muslims did this to you, all this stuff, all the reasons you feel that anger is because of the Muslims or possible extremists, and then they focus it, they re-divert it onto the American people, and it's so horrifying that they don't want to think it to themselves. It's such a horrifying reality to accept that they don't want to wake up and realize that it's really the fucking government or their masters, the generals above them. They're sending them to these places and causing these mental illnesses to send them again. Then why are they getting mental illnesses more than ever? Because you're not supposed to be fucking just murdering innocent people like this. Alright, more stuff from the journal. I don't know how much of this stuff is stuff I've already mentioned or covered from a different angle before, but here we go. When they repeat your thoughts, they'll do it. Sometimes to make you focus more in mental energy, and they will stress you out with the amount of fucking mental energy that you have to put into talking to them with the voice to skull. It's better to just ignore them. It's almost like you have to. They force you to dissociate. It's like I'm talking about. It's forced mental illness. They're forcing you to unnaturally dissociate from what's happening in your mind. It's the only way that you can have any peace. And so to make you put more of that mental energy into your thoughts that are going out to them, they'll repeat it. They'll repeat your thoughts less and less clearly and less audible and intelligible. So you think you have that they're misinterpreting you or something, and at some level of your brain wants to make your thoughts clearer and louder, which is really fucked up for me, because about 3 or 4 months into it starting, there was this one night when they were like, where I was focused on something, and then all of a sudden they started saying like, "Do you want your voice?" And I was like, "What does that even mean?" I didn't even know what they were talking about. And then slowly they when I was thinking my thoughts, I could just hear my inner dialogue just disappearing, and they've basically completely removed it, so that all I can hear is they're repeating my thoughts now. Like when you read a book or something, you're supposed to be able to hear basically your own voice when you read or think. And so they literally said, and then they made it completely disappear, and I was like so shocked. I didn't know. I was like, I didn't even really believe it, even though I couldn't think in my voice. I was like, part of me just didn't want to believe it. So I was like, whatever, and then I didn't even think about it for too much. And then they're like, wait, do you want it back? And it reminded me. I was like, wait a second, I'm really not thinking in my voice anymore. It's not normal, and it hasn't been normal since then. And there was one day like there was at one point where I was going on trying to go on vacations, like little vacations, just to hotels like 100 miles away or whatever, a couple hours away back when it first started, just to get away from it, hopefully for a couple days. But of course they followed me across the country even so, and I don't mean physically, it's all remote, done at least the all across country stuff. But so I there was one time when I did that, and it only got worse when I left. It was probably one of the worst points that it ever got, and it became unbearable. I couldn't read. I couldn't think in my own voice, and it got to the point where I realized I just didn't want to be conscious at all. If like I'm not saying I was just really depressed. I wasn't suicidal. I've never really been suicidal. And I never will be. So I mean, if they kill me and say it's suicide, it's not true. Why I said that, but I was just feeling really shitty, and so I was like, I have to be able to read my voice. So I was like, I'm gonna try and force myself to read "Human Race: Get Off Your Knees," the David Icke book. I just gotten because it just came out pretty recently, and so I was trying to force myself to read that, and every time that I was able to think of my voice, every time I was able to remember, recall, get that recall, because they can take a memory out of you, and I'm not retarded. I can speak in my voice so anytime I want. So you should be able to bring it up in your mind, but every time I was able to, it was really difficult to focus on it and bring it up. I'd hear a V2K, one I don't hear so much anymore, back when they were much more gangsterish, when it was just total craziness trying to make me think a million different things, all these different new realities, to completely destroy basically desensitizing you. But I'd hear a voice say, "Yo, stop calling me." Like they'd act like my voice was their voice, sort of, but not really. They wouldn't say it like that. They leave it open to your interpretation. I've talked about that before. They do that a lot. They'll leave everything open to your own interpretation. But you'll get an idea because of the context and the different terms they'll use, and you have to puzzle piece it together to understand what they're talking about. But so I'd get this guy saying, "Yo, stop calling me," and I don't know what it was, but there was something really scary about it. I mean, obviously, there's just on the surface level that's really scary, that you can't think of your voice, and every time you do, somebody angrily tells you to stop thinking of your voice, and that it's theirs. But it was something really frightening about it that made you not want to do it. And after a while and it wouldn't be like you'd get better at it with time. And on one level you would, you might be able to do it longer, but to get back to that, it's almost like you had to strain, it's like your brain is like a muscle, and you literally had to strain it to get into that state of mind where you could think of your own voice. And it just got harder and harder, and they got angry and angry, and I think they're doing something. They put some shock into your, because they've got constant brainwave entrainment going on, with the same thing that binaural beats do, just in a negative way. So I think they're putting some shock into you, and all of this is really